Welcome back to Leaders of Enchantment, where we spotlight the people, ideas, and innovation shaping New Mexico and beyond. I'm your host, Cameron Ward, and this episode is a little different. I packed our microphones and headed to Austin, Texas for South by Southwest, where New Mexico House brought together entrepreneurs, creatives, innovators, and change makers to showcase everything our state has to offer on a global stage. Over 2 days, I had the chance to participate in a panel discussion and sit down with 6 inspiring guests to learn what they brought to South by Southwest and how they're helping to put New Mexico on the map. So whether you're curious about South by Southwest, looking for inspiration, or simply loving to hear these stories from passionate leaders, you're in the right place. So let's head to Austin and hear the voices representing the land of enchantment. Angelica Maestas, welcome to Leaders of Enchantment.
Thank you.
I'm
Here.
the first time we're meeting each other. We've only mostly been talking on email, kind of exchanged, connected through Sandy. Awesome. So we're here at South by Southwest New Mexico House. How did you get involved with New Mexico House, and what are you here to do today?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be a part of it for year one, which was last year, and that was amazing. It's certainly grown, and I think we've done a good job of really showing that there's more to New Mexico than green chili, although green chili is an amazing thing, and I can't live without it.
Are you a green or a red?
Green.
Okay, through and through. Me too. Unless it's a carne asada burrito.
Okay. I'll go Christmas now and then.
Okay.
But yeah, this is actually the first year that I did not pack my own chili and freeze it.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm going to have to pillage my mother's freezer because there was just no time. So
Okay. Are you one to just buy at a store or buy from a local family member?
no, so we'll buy from grocery store,
Okay.
peel and pack and freeze.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, let's get back into New Mexico House.
Oh.
Um, what brought you here?
Yeah, so a couple of things is one is I love to hear and see what's going on in other ecosystems and meet fellow builders.
Uh-huh.
And one of the reasons I'm at the New Mexico House today is I'll be participating in a fireside chat with one of our portfolio companies.
Okay.
So I work with Builders VC, which is expanding into New Mexico. And part of that expansion entails a couple of things. So one is we're investing in New Mexico-based companies that align with our thesis.
What is the areas you focus on?
Yeah, so we're currently deploying out of a 400 million fund 3. We
Mhm.
invest in healthcare, agriculture, climate, and industrial technologies.
Okay.
So one way we contribute to New Mexico's ecosystem is writing checks where we find the stage a company that aligns, which not surprisingly, there's not a ton of Series A companies in New Mexico yet. So that is just one component of what we're doing in the state.
Mhm.
The other is contributing to economic development by bringing portfolio companies to New Mexico where it makes sense. And so Ashbrook Technologies is one of those companies. And so we'll be talking about that journey,
Mhm.
why he chose New Mexico, and how we worked together as founder and investor partners to help them
Okay.
succeed. Um,
I see. Well, we're stepping right into where I want to take off in the future or in a couple minutes, but get into when did you get started in like knowing where you wanted to work for, like in this industry?
yeah. So my career has been a perfect progression of where I needed to be, not necessarily where I thought I wanted to be.
Okay.
I started initially in healthcare as a data technologist.
Uh-huh.
Worked with an industry, had zero aspirations to become an entrepreneur.
Was that maybe because a lot of people in your family were in the medical field?
Nobody in my family was in the medical field.
Okay.
Most of my family were entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay.
I wanted nothing to do with that.
You kind of saw the stress, the sleepless nights.
Yeah, it was few of them were successful and very successful, but most, it was a grind. And so I saw my parents do it.
Okay. What did your parents start?
So they did everything. Bridal shops, office cleaning businesses,
Mm.
Swan's dairy, ice cream route, like all sorts of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you an only child?
No, I'm the youngest of three,
Uh-huh.
the youngest by a decade. And so kind of felt like an only child. Yeah.
Okay. So you saw it, and now today you're kind of working with different entrepreneurs
Yeah.
and an entrepreneur yourself.
Yes. For myself. Um,
So what age were you at, or like what point you were like, I'm done with the medical field?
so I wasn't done with healthcare because I
Okay.
loved it. It was my passion. I grew up in Stockton, California. Though born in Albuquerque, grew up in Stockton, then came back.
Uh-huh.
And Stockton is a very rough place to live. Lots of poverty, lots of violence, homelessness, and that was just very normal for our community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really understood the impact of not having health care, not getting it until it's dire, and seeing that it was rarely quality care. And so that's how I landed in healthcare,
Okay.
in industry, and then got the entrepreneurial itch because I saw that we could do more with data to manage patient populations. And so
Got it.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were integrating it, the two.
Yeah. Yeah. So I jumped into, co-founded a healthcare analytics company. That went really well. We were eventually acquired by a software services company in 2021.
Uh-huh.
Worked for the acquiring firm for 2 years. Lots of lessons learned and battle scars from that experience.
Okay.
And then I jumped back into entrepreneurship, but in a couple of different ways as an investor and then still as an entrepreneur, fostering health tech innovation in New Mexico.
Wow. I mean, I could understand, from even jumping from business to business. What is the lesson that it was almost like a turning point for you?
Yeah, so I really got into venture, and honestly, I'm obsessed with the industry.
Uh-huh.
It's transformed our world, and the average person doesn't stop to think about that. But if you think about a world without Uber or DoorDash or Airbnb or all of the things that are just normal and a part of everyday life,
Uh-huh.
those things don't exist if you don't have the found
Funding.
the great idea,
Okay.
lots of capital,
Yep.
and the capital is the key part, and someone with the knowledge to be able to commercialize. And so when you have that combination, then you get winning companies. And for me, I thought, wow, I want to be a part of that, but for healthcare. And so I've continued doing that work. New Mexico EDD actually just announced our award. We under Health Inno, which is my business, we
Uh-huh.
was awarded $840,000 for the year ahead
Wow.
to launch the statewide healthcare innovation network.
Wow. Congratulations. That is a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it's been a wild start to the year.
How far along in a process do you have to prepare like business strategies or proposals?
So it's interesting because we've been so I had spent the last maybe 18 months, 2 years working on the concept, fleshing it out,
Mhm.
circulating it with industry in the state, and started getting some like really positive reception to it. So I said, okay, well, now we've got the idea fleshed out. Now it's time to get some funding to be able to launch it because I did the mistake the first time around as an entrepreneur, which was working for free. I
Yep.
won't do that anymore.
How long did you work for free?
We did get contracts pretty quickly, but we paid ourselves very little, like
Mm.
very, very little. And I think it was enough to keep going, but in reality, I we bootstrapped that one, and it's just I wouldn't do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, time is valuable, or
Your energy.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I know how it could be sometimes with you want to put as much money and capital towards the business, but it's like also it's expensive out here.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You have to almost like fend like bend for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and I was, at the time, a single mom, and,
Oh my goodness.
the purse strings were extra tight, but yeah, I definitely won't work for free anymore, and women tend to do that more than men, some because they feel they have to, but, it's a choice, and if you make that choice, I think you're kind of locking yourself into doing it longer than you'd like.
Mhm. Yeah, in a way too, like, working for free, it's almost like I wouldn't want to put someone else in that position.
Right, yeah, because you have respect for that person, so why not have it for yourself, and why
Yeah.
do that to yourself?
Mhm. But I wanna get into, like, the venture capitalist side too. Um, what makes what makes a person coming in wanting to get some funding for a project or a business that makes you be like, "I wanna work and give that person their funding."
Yeah, part of it is the technology,
Uh-huh.
and we see companies where, some of that technology could be completely transformational. I'll give you an example.
Mhm.
One company called Amplifier, they detect biomarkers in the voice, can diagnose pregnancy with 90% accuracy. Is there
From the voice?
Yep. Voice,
From your voice.
yep. Anxiety, depression, and so they're expanding it to other condition, and it's just wild. And in a state like ours in New Mexico, where access to providers is a huge issue, we have some of the worst patient to provider ratios in the country. This can be transformational. So those kinds of technologies really just community impact is what I'm drawn to. So I'm really drawn to solutions that can impact and change communities.
Okay.
So that's what gets my interest. But the founder has to have the chops. And
The chops.
yeah, has to be able to weather the storm. Um, Startup life is a complete roller coaster.
Mhm.
For some people that cut out for it, and some really just aren't, and that's okay. But um, they have to be willing to put the right people in place that will help them navigate that.
Okay, have their business strategy and how do they handle their own mental health, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, how has New Mexico shaped the way you think about business or leadership?
I had never appreciated or maybe even didn't see the community and collaborative factor.
Mhm.
And New Mexico is so supportive. And I've seen that evolve in the ecosystem. It didn't feel like it was that way when I first started my business in 2017, but I do think the ecosystem has really grown to be just so incredibly supportive. The network in New Mexico, people are just really driven to want to see fellow founders succeed.
Mhm.
So, introductions, whether to uh, prospective customers or to prospective investors, or even just mentors.
Uh-huh.
So there's just like an absolute willingness to help, which is not something I've seen in other ecosystems as much as I see here.
Okay. Have you always been in New Mexico? You were saying you're from
Uh, so I was born in
California.
Albuquerque, moved to Stockton, came back as a teen, as a tween, and yeah, I have been here ever since, or been there ever since. And
In Albuquerque.
in Albuquerque, well, Rio Rancho, but most people have never heard of Rio Rancho if I'm outside of New Mexico, so I just always say Albuquerque.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah, and I love it now. And it's ironic because I used to, even if you come from the worst place ever, which was Stockton, it's all you know, and it's where your family and your childhood memory
Yeah.
and friends. I was pretty angsty, and so that path led me to being a very young mom. I became a mom at 15.
Okay.
Initially, I was on the path to waiting till I turned 16 so I could drop out of high school. That was my grand plan.
That was your plan, and then you were well, you got to, right? Did you still quit school by that point?
No, so then I stayed in school. I went to a school for teen moms in Albuquerque.
I've heard of this place.
Near Futures.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up being valedictorian. So
Wow.
I stayed in school. I went to UNM. I got my undergrad in finance. And then I pursued like very stable employment because I wanted my daughter to never experience what I did.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, and it took probably well into my late 20s, early 30s before I had a kind of a awakening. I literally one day was just looking up at the sky
Uh-huh.
and I thought, wow, these are the bluest skies I've ever seen. It was just like suddenly I could see New Mexico and it had been there this whole time and I had been surrounded by it. But then I saw the Sandias. And we thought, wow, I get to see that every single day. And so it was just a very it now I'm pretty much Miss New Mexico or like, here, it's wonderful. Why wouldn't you want to?
We must be at like the most perfect spot right now here at Austin, just repping New Mexico,
Yeah.
telling everyone about New
Yeah.
Mexico.
It might backfire on us because everyone might eventually like really catch on and buy into it.
And like it gets overpopulated.
Share the beauty. Yeah. Share the charm.
Okay, so you love New Mexico. That's great. Awesome. Um, let's see. Do you have an industry that you think is going to explode in the next 10 years in New Mexico?
So we've got lots of deep tech and quantum technology and investment, which I think is great. I think we need to explore lots of angles. I think
Mhm.
we don't want to lock into just saying, "Oh, this is the path." Pour tons of money and then not explore other things. We need to diversify our investments. And the opportunity that we're seeing at builders in New Mexico is healthcare. And we're engaging in industry. And in fact, that award that I mentioned from EDD, that is in partnership with Builders BC and with UNM Health Sciences Center.
Okay.
So we're seeing, obviously, there's a need. We have some of the worst access and outcomes in healthcare in the country.
Hmm.
And so we see the need to innovate, but also we're able to leverage industry's willingness to want to innovate with us.
Hmm.
And so launching statewide Heights Innovation Network this coming year. And yeah, so we're really leaning into that, seeing the opportunity, seeing industry very, very engaged. We think this could be a game changer for healthcare in New Mexico. And so we want to be a part of um, n- not necessarily shaping it because we're letting industry do that.
Hmm.
We want to be a part of providing resources. We provide the venture lens of viewing technologies. So that kind of helps de risk it before they get connected to, say, a Loveless or a Presbyterian
Okay.
to pilot in the state. So we want to be able to support bringing newer, innovative healthcare technologies to New Mexico, but we want to do it in a very structured, collaborative way.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's get into our final closing. Um, what excites you about being here this year in Southwest? This not your first time.
No, I guess what continues to draw me. I came out here. I judged the health tech and biotech pitch competition at South by, so I did that. That draw remains because they're younger, they're newer technologies. Actually, one of our companies, Ubiquity, that we invested in, they got their start here at Southway. So that's why Hunter McDaniel is very invested in the New Mexico house, is
Hmm.
running it. So I love the ambition, uh, the energy, the excitement of discovering just what could what could possibly change things for us in different sectors. So I like getting exposure to the different industries.
Hmm.
And then, of course, I love seeing New Mexico House hopping and want to be able to support getting the word out.
Okay. Great. Awesome. Well, what's one thing, or not one thing, you could go on about what are some big things you're trying to strive for 2026?
Yeah, for 2026, Builders has an office in downtown Albuquerque. We're just around the corner from VM. We are putting on a lot of education, programming events to help provide some more infrastructure to the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We want to support founders understanding what venture capital is, what it means to be venture ready, and what it means to be venture backed.
Mhm.
And so we're seeing that as a gap in the knowledge ecosystem that we want to help fill. So that's important to us because eventually this is a long game investment that we're making in New Mexico, but maybe 7, 10 years from now, that starts to provide a pipeline of Series A founders that we can write checks into.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about that. And of course, our partnership with Help Inno in launching the statewide Health Innovation Pilot Network. That's 2026 for me.
Awesome. Great. Well, Angelica, thank you so much for coming on the podcast
Thank you for having me.
and excited to see more about, what you're doing here in Austin and New Mexico.
Thank you.
Awesome. Eric Whitmore,
Yes.
welcome to Leaders of Enchantment podcast.
I am so excited to be on the Leaders of Enchantment podcast.
We're running around the clock, chasing time a little
Mhm.
bit. We're working our full-time job, part-time jobs, and
Yeah.
one bite of sandwich.
hmm
Have you had any lunch, breakfast?
That is, I was able to get some of the food here.
Okay.
One of the reasons I think, so we're at, what is it? ATX Courtyard
Mhm.
or Courtyard ATX on 4th Street. We're right next door to a place called Pechet, which is where we did this event last year. And they have great food.
Yeah.
And that was one of the, I don't know, maybe the fundamentals or principles. We said we want to do at some place that has really good food.
I mean, we gotta eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, and I don't know. I think it makes a difference if you care about people, you want them to eat well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Well, we're here. We're still surviving. Tell everyone your elevator pitch. What do you do?
Elevator pitch. So I work in economic development. Economic development means a lot of different things to different folks, but primarily it's about creating the conditions for businesses, for entrepreneurs to be able to start businesses and grow them.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different dimensions to that. It can, depending on where you're located and the kinds of people you're working with, that can go in a lot of different directions. I came into this like a lot of people, maybe in the entrepreneur world, you're solving your own problem. So I was working for University of New Mexico. We were helping build the state's media industries, film and media industries. This is when all those programs started. And one of the things that we saw was people, whether they're filmmakers or potential game developers, things like that, they needed to know the very basics of starting a company, getting investment.
Okay.
How do you do
This is
all
at
of the
UNM.
things? This is when I was at UNM at a place called Arts Lab. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Was this automatically your passion?
Huh. I mean, it was not. I
Or you were
think,
trying?
yeah, connecting the dots there, it was that I liked sort of the creative problem solving and the bringing people together. I think those are some of the through lines. So I've typically, in a lot of different roles, I've been a person who brings other folks together. And what I found in that role was we were, say, a game jam. Actually, there's the beginnings of a game jam going here at this event as well. It's recognizing you need somebody who's a graphic artist. You need somebody who's a programmer. You need somebody who understands UX. You need all of these different complementary skill sets to come together to launch a product. And what I was good at wasn't necessarily the coding. I could do a little bit of code. I could do a little bit of graphic design, but really, I know enough to know that there are far better people than I am. However, I'm pretty good at bringing people together to get that kind of event going.
Okay. You're the connector.
Yeah, that's one of the roles. Yeah.
So you left UNM, you started this economic development. What was this business called?
So let's see. What I ended up doing after UNM, I moved to. I was working with the New Mexico Technology Council.
Okay.
So it's basically the state's trade association for technology business.
That's different from NM. Is that NMTC?
NMTC,
Okay.
yeah, NM Tech Council. This is probably about 3 directors ago, so I
Okay.
like to think we leveled up at the time. But we were really this is fairly early days for Tech Council, and we pivoted a bit to really focus, make startups really part of the concentration or the focus of what we were doing, because we didn't have, and we still don't have that many, say, Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here
In New Mexico.
in New Mexico. So what do we need to do about that if we're trying to grow our overall economic landscape? We need to start more companies and create that thriving environment where companies are going to say, oh, I like what's happening there. Let me move in. So that was what we were focusing on at the time at the Tech Council.
Okay. Following through like building infrastructure.
Hmm.
Okay. What is like the typical artist? Is it an artist, an entrepreneur who is wanting to work alongside you at the time?
Let's see. I think
Industry they were in?
I think actually game develop. So the film industry has sort of really well, documented and supported roles. You've got unions. You've got the long list of folks that are in the credits at the end of a movie. In game development, especially say indie game development, there might be one person who's doing just about everything. And what we found, I think, in talking with game developers was really, how can I put it? We weren't building the next epic games, or we weren't building, one of these really enterprise level game companies. But we were working with folks who really cared about making fun and interesting things happen and creating an experience that buyers, that participants would really love. And I think it's that creative problem solving in that says, okay, let's identify what your strengths are. Say some of those people would be mainly artists.
Right.
And they may have an idea for a game mechanic or something else. And then part of the question is, well, who do we know that can maybe fill that role? Or how do we help you become better at those things? So they came from a variety of different maybe strengths. And starting points, but it was all about how do we move them to a place where they can really accomplish their vision.
Okay. Well, that definitely gets into that for sure. What was your first job like? Where was it UNM?
For like first job,
First job.
first job. I was a paper boy for Newsday on Long Island, New York.
Wow.
Yes,
Beautiful place.
We didn't know it was close to the beach. We have 2 sets of beaches, so I'm pretty happy with my suburban upbringing in Long Island.
Did you follow the path of, in a way, you're almost like learning about people consistently through economic development, asking questions. And it's interesting you say you were like working in the newspaper field back then. Were you a reporter later on, or?
Boy, I flirted with becoming a reporter. So when I went to as an undergraduate, I had a dual major in journalism and political science.
Okay.
So I like the idea of being able to tell a story, and I think it's important to be able to convey the truth.
And she's saying, "How did I read that, Eric?" I was like, there has to be some.
Wait a
connection.
second. Yeah. So there was a journalistic aspect to it, but really, I think that security, American security and foreign policy, all of that kind of work is really understanding the needs of different people who are coming to the table to make something happen. And sometimes they're in opposition, or sometimes there's competition between, or sometimes they're antagonists. But can you find common ground? Can you find what is it that these people really want? What is it that somebody else really wants? And maybe there's a way to get to a satisfying conclusion.
Okay. Well, you seem like an outgoing guy. You know how to talk. You like talking to people. You have a booth here.
We do have a booth here.
House.
I will thank you for opening the door there. So yes, we have a booth for for City of Santa Fe's Office of Economic Development. We partnered with Santa Fe County's Economic Development Office as well. And we partner with them on a lot of things. So just always happy to be working with them. And they're just really hand in hand on a lot of support for business, outdoor recreation, a lot of things.
Okay. Very cool. So you kind of dabbled into that. Talk about New Mexico House. You're one of the founding fathers. You started it. You're the president.
We have a very loose board.
Okay.
I'll be generous and say we have a loose, often functioning board. But there isn't it does not include roles of president, vice president.
Okay.
So we're not at that kind of level of formalization. Given the success of what we've been seeing so far, I think we're at a time where we need to grow up and become more formal in some way.
It was
There's a lot of different
for
paths.
a little while. Now it's an adult.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah, in your second year with New Mexico.
we've actually gotten to college. We should probably have a bank account.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So how does a business run without a bank account?
Well, so what we have is let's see, we have it, like I said, we have sort of an informal board. There's a few people who have been designated and agreed to be basically responsible for finances for the organization. So yes, there are responsible adults involved. However, we also work with the Regional Development Corporation, RDC. They are our fiscal agent. So when we're taking in funds, donation, sponsorship, etc., when we're taking those funds in, we have another entity that exists to hold that in a bank account. So yes, the money goes, it's not just lying in a suitcase someplace. So the money goes to appropriate place, and then there is a process for making payouts. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Well, talk about, how has maybe New Mexico, it sounds like you've kind of been around the map. When did you come into New Mexico?
Boy, 25, 30 years ago. So it has been a while, but I was working at University of New Mexico and doing other interesting things, but maybe not all that remarkable. I think that really changed when the organization I was part of became one of the lead institutions partnering on the state's media industry strategy.
Okay.
And that was the initiative under Governor Richardson that leveled up to get movie studios. And eventually we saw that pay off with Netflix and a few other things more recently. But it's been a very successful initiative, and one that we're, among others, still trying to say, how can we still apply the lessons we had from that success to other industry sectors?
Okay. Awesome. Well, how has New Mexico shaped the way you think about business or leadership?
That's a great question. I think, see if I don't know, I won't try to be eloquent because that'll be a disaster. There's some qualities about New Mexico, and it's sort of quasi-cultural, but I think like sometimes people talk about like the acequia culture. Like, how are we sharing water resources? How are we working together on a community basis? Sometimes this is not part of an official government. This is a way of managing resources together that is not something that requires an elected official, but it's people meeting each other across a wall or a fence or across a table with some coffee. And that is, I think, part of the nature of New Mexico that doesn't always make us the fastest place to do business, but that gives it a reality to those interpersonal connections and those relationships that I think it's really strong here. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think, to me, is special about New Mexico that I carry with me in the different work that I do.
Okay. Well, since you are kind of juggling different projects and jobs, where do you see yourself in like the next decade?
Next decade.
What does success look like for you?
I think I feel like I'm toward probably the end of my career. Toward that, not in the next 2 years, not within the next 5. But seeing this New Mexico house kind of get to the level that it's gotten to, that's that feels like the kind of win that I've wanted to have based on a few previous
Projects.
few previous projects to get New Mexico talent in front of the wider world. So this feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's another couple of similar projects like, and I'm not as closely involved as several other folks, but seeing advanced energy really take off in Santa Fe and New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a role to play in that.
Okay.
And that's something that I would like to see move forward. I think the other one that I'd throw in there is when our organization's involvement with the media industries and film in New Mexico, we saw great possibility in interactive media. And the technology has now caught up
Uh-huh.
with some of those crazy visions and things. Things that we were involved with and talking about are now like the big venue Sphere in Las Vegas
Okay.
is kind of grew out of some work that folks were doing in planetariums.
Uh-huh.
And that was a big focus for us 15 years ago.
In New Mexico.
In New Mexico. Yeah, we were one of the leading places in the world for that kind of media.
Interesting. Uh-huh.
So I think there's something in that space and something that Santa Fe has some real capabilities in and some great talent in
Uh-huh.
that I think we can build on to do a little bit more with and make
Okay.
that something that we're really seen as a place, oh, you need to go to Santa Fe to experience this or maybe to do work in that regard.
Or go to the big cities, right?
Well, I don't think, I mean, what I love about, say, Santa Fe, New Mexico is if Meow Wolf, let's take them as an example.
Uh-huh.
You started in Santa Fe.
Right.
They are now opening their places in LA and New York.
That's true.
Right.
And yeah,
But they didn't need to move there, but they
yeah.
have that relationship. And I think it helped for that weird, cool, brilliant organization to come together in Santa Fe and in New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
But now they can kind of spread their wings so that they bring that ethos that they have to these other, very prominent communities.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And what can you say or give advice to someone who's here in Austin from
Mhm.
Mexico to kind of get their name out?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've seen for quite some time is it feels like there's almost like some kind of spiritual or I don't know philosophical affinity between Austin and Albuquerque and New Mexico. There's this I don't know this creative mixing it up that's sometimes a little bit gritty, but also leads to great results.
Mhm.
So I think for the folks in Austin who are, maybe they're not part of the big tech growth that's happened here, which has been phenomenal.
Mhm.
But if they're looking for something that's maybe a little bit earlier stage, a place where they can really help shape the community, New Mexico is a place where you can still do that. So we're still at the earlier stages in
We're
some
just
of
showing
these.
representation.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for coming on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and the ability to talk.
How can people connect with you outside of today and
Well, I
weekend?
certainly I work for City of Santa Fe's Office of Economic Development. The best and easiest way for me to say is if you go to contact OED, that's all spelled out one word, at santafenm.gov.
Uh-huh.
That is our main generic email address
Okay.
for City of Santa Fe's Office of Economic Development. And if you either look that up online and go to the link, or if you email that email address, we can connect you with a wide variety of resources and really look at the kinds of things that you're interested in and how we might be able to help.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, Jessica Moose, welcome to Leaders of Enchantment. Never heard of the last name before, minus the animal, but where did the last name come from? Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Nebraska,
Uh-huh.
places. My dad was in the Air Force, so we moved around a lot growing up.
Okay.
So we moved back to overseas, which is where both my parents were born and raised.
Overseas. Where?
We were in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
So my dad was stationed there for a brief period of time.
Was it fun to
I
be out
moved
there?
back. So I moved to the UK when I was 6 months, and I moved back to the States, specifically to Texas,
Uh-huh.
when I was 3.
Okay.
I don't really remember parts.
It was like
of that.
glimpses, maybe.
Yeah. There's aspects of it that I remember, but those are few and far between.
Yeah.
And I unlock them at the most random times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, give us your elevator pitch. What do you do? Where are you from? Or where do you live today, I should say?
Yeah. So I currently live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've lived there for now the longest I've lived anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Kind of cool. So, like I said,
You don't have to move anymore now because your parents.
Yeah, I don't have to move anymore. My parents actually live in Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Uh-huh.
So after my dad retired from the Air Force, he moved our family out to Alamogordo, and that's where I did all of my first grade through senior year. Came to Albuquerque to attend the University of New Mexico, where
Okay.
I studied, did my bachelor's in business and my master's in business.
Okay.
Um,
Were you a student that just consistently studied and you went straight through bachelor's in 4 years and then master's right afterwards?
yeah, school was all I knew, so I just kept going.
Uh-huh.
And I had made some really good relationships with professors over the years of my bachelor's. So when I went on to do grad school, I actually was a grad assistant for a couple of professors that I had, had in undergrad. And
Okay.
they kind of helped, financially get me through grad school, which was incredible. And all the while, when I was doing my master's, I was working for the University of New Mexico's technology transfer office,
Okay.
which kind of kickstarted my whole career.
Transfer as in transportation.
Technology transfer as
Technology.
so all the University of New Mexico technology goes through the tech transfer office to go out to the market. So
Okay.
we protect the IP that's developed at the University of New Mexico. And then I was working as an intern at that time and doing prior art searches for technologies, doing kind of scouting for companies that might want to license that technology.
Okay.
So that's kind of what introduced me to the world of tech commercialization and tech transfer.
Okay. Very cool. And you say, did you immediately get into your dream job from once finishing your bachelor's, or were you consistently working
Yeah.
for some place maybe you didn't like when going to your master's?
When I was doing my bachelor's, I actually worked for a hair salon as a
Uh-huh.
receptionist
Okay.
for 3 years. I feel like I learned a lot about customer service, about people, and those soft skills that have carried through in every aspect of every other job I've had since then.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew long term, I didn't have any interest in becoming a hairstylist, even though I love all things beauty.
Your hair looks very voluminous today.
That's the Texas humidity helping me out.
Okay.
But anyway, so I was working as a receptionist. That was great. But then I took that internship with the University of New Mexico. Once I graduated from my graduate degree and my master's, I actually took a job up in Santa Fe, working for the Santa Fe Business Incubator as their program director.
Okay.
And that was kind of my first professional
Big girl job.
big girl job. Yep. First big girl job, first big girl paycheck.
Uh-huh.
And it was an amazing. I worked there for 5.5 years.
What did you do there what was your role?
Yeah, so as the program director, I kind of led all of the interactions between our companies that were housed at the business incubator
Uh-huh.
and made appropriate connections for them to advisors, to investors, really act as what I now refer to as I was almost like a business therapist for them. They were starting new companies, they were growing companies.
Business therapist, that's funny. So you were kind of maybe your hands are different types of
I was
area.
organizing advisory councils. I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with the companies and just that's where I found my love for entrepreneurship and just understanding the people that are building these companies and to remind people they are people.
Yep.
Like sometimes I think we forget that. As
We're
companies
humans.
giving.
We're not just some robots. We got to rest from time to time.
Yeah, and it's just like I just have a whole new appreciation for founders and the people that put in the time to create all the companies that we're so familiar with today.
hmm Okay. Well, even too, I was talking with this lady yesterday, Lynn Walker. She was mentioning, she was like, as an entrepreneur, you don't really have time to work-life balance. But how is that for you today? Because you are now also, we got to talk about New Mexico House, and you're part of that as well. So, but to get on to first questions first, right? How is work-life balance?
I prioritize work-life balance very well, I think. I learned when I was commuting to Santa Fe. So I've lived in Albuquerque since coming to UNM.
Uh-huh.
And I was commuting to Santa Fe 5 days a week for those 5 years that I worked in Santa Fe. So
Wow.
I
Are you a train or are you a
No, I
driver?
was driving. Yeah.
Back and forth.
Back and forth and back and forth. I listened to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts.
Uh-huh.
And called my mom and dad and, got in all the social time with them. But what was most interesting about that time period is I didn't realize how tired I was from commuting until the pandemic happened. And I was able to like split some of my time working from home. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting 2 hours back of my day.
That I'd
What
never
should I do?
had.
What should I do with all this time? And that's when I really start to prioritize like my health and well-being.
Mhm.
And realizing as a professional, you do have to have to like a real life beyond your work.
Uh-huh.
And so that's when I really started to like come into my own and joined like a bowling league and like,
That's
other,
cute.
like, fun
Before, after COVID, you said?
after COVID.
After COVID.
Yeah.
Are you still in this bowling
I'm
league?
still in this bowling league.
Wow, that's so fun.
Yeah, we bowl every Thursday at Silver Lanes. Shout out Brittany Spears. That's our team name.
Okay.
And some of the best people that I've met in Albuquerque are on that team. And
You, as an adult, you could be a part of a club.
yeah,
And we need to normalize that.
yeah, the bowling club. So that's one thing about me that most people don't think about. And
A new fun fact of the day.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So work-life balance is really important to me.
Okay.
Prioritize in all areas.
Okay. Very sweet. Well, tell us about New Mexico House. How did you get involved? Are you one of the founding mothers, founding fathers?
Yeah. So one of the founding board members for New Mexico House. I'll give you just like kind of the history of how I got involved in South by Southwest
Mhm.
and then what kind of led to the New Mexico House. So when I was working at the Santa Fe Business Incubator, I was nominated by another colleague from the industry to join the official South by Southwest Pitch Advisory Board. And so what that board does is you do the preliminary judging of all the pitch applications that come in for the competition.
Okay.
So you judge anywhere from 75 to 100 pitches over the course of a couple.
And these pitches are like 2 minutes.
These pitches are actually written pitches.
Okay, so you're reading.
Yeah, an application. There's some like attachments of videos and other collateral that is
Uh-huh.
in support of their pitch, but yeah, it's mainly all written.
Okay, wow.
So we would do all the judging, and then as a reward, they give you a complimentary platinum badge to official South by Southwest conference.
Wow.
So I started this back in 2019. Started doing this role in 2019. The first year I would have been able to go to South by Southwest, the actual conference would have been 2020. That
Okay.
was canceled.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, darn. And then beyond that, they had kind of gone through different iterations. They did a like hybrid version, I think in 2021, and 2022 is the first year they did it like in person.
Wow.
And that's
Were people just like excited? They were dancing in the streets.
It was so fun. I was very overwhelmed. It was my first time coming to Austin.
Uh-huh.
First time kind of like staying in a downtown environment, like kind of that whole like live, work, play situation. It was so much fun. And there was like a few of us from New Mexico that were also there. And so we
Okay.
met on like a rooftop bar at the JW, and we all just kind of convened the New Mexicans. And we said, hey, like, what are you up to this weekend? What's your plan? And we were able to like all hang out, meet up. And that was kind of what started to percolate the idea behind actually having a New Mexico house.
Okay. So this is actually my first time in Austin and a South by Southwest event, but I was surprised to see like how many different houses are there. Like meaning there's different places like states. There's a German house. London came yesterday and they have a house, but this isn't a regular house. This is like a pop-up event featuring the places.
I had never heard of that concept before.
Yeah.
Houses. That's like, what do you mean you're at the German house or at the Midwest house?
Yeah, so it's cool. And, you know, I had green chili already this morning in Austin, Texas. I don't know if it was New Mexico, Bueno Chile, but it's cool. So you kind of, you kind of pitch the idea. How do you pitch an idea that I guess other states are doing, other places are doing that you wanted New Mexico to pop out?
Right. I think we'll be experienced by attending some of these other like regional or international houses
Mhm.
is an opportunity to showcase the unique attributes of the place that you're from. And so in working with like the startup ecosystem and just being acutely aware of all of the amazing things happening in New Mexico, again, as it relates to startups is where my interests lie. We started thinking like, what if we produced a New Mexico house?
You're right.
What if we just did it? Like had gone through different, we've seen other people's houses. We knew the gist of it.
Uh-huh.
And the whole intentionality behind having a house is that the first year we did it was an unofficial activation that was occurring just at the same time as South by Southwest. So the whole
Okay.
purpose of that is that you're leveraging the audience of official South by Southwest because there's a lot of similarities in your audiences. You have
Right.
you have startups, you have a lot of the same people. So it's just a way to capture their attention, be a part of the noise, if you
Mhm.
will, during South by Southwest and kind of just elevate whatever message you want it to be. And our message was that we wanted to spotlight New Mexico as a place to start a business, grow a business, film a movie, but just as a place to come and be because we all love it so much.
Okay. So it started with how many people in the front, the beginning?
There was kind of 4 of us in the very, very beginning.
Mhm.
And then from there, it's kind of just the board has grown. We've diversified the different kind of programming aspects of the board. And now we have like a whole group that's supporting the development of the actual event.
Okay. Okay. So how do you get from the basics when starting almost like this big activation that's now in a different state? You're kind of limited resources, right? Unless you feel different. But from basics like funding to bringing people from New Mexico here.
The first year we did like it was one day just as this year is too, but we just wanted to make sure that we were doing a few things that day. We wanted to give some mic time for startup founders. We wanted to give some mic time to our sponsors, which last year the biggest sponsor we had was New Mexico Economic Development Department. We wanted to give some attention to our musicians from New Mexico that came
Mhm.
out to perform. So we really were just trying to have a a concentrated effort of New Mexicans all in one place so that we could all be like basically brand ambassadors for the state.
Okay. Yeah.
Self-appointed brand ambassadors for the state.
Traveling brand ambassador.
And so our board kind of divvied up responsibilities around that. So some of the board members focused on fundraising and bringing in sponsorships. I work more on the programming side of things, so helping build out the agenda, coordinating with our speakers, making sure that we have the representation that we're looking for from these different sectors there on the
Mhm.
agenda, relevant, and giving them the time to share their stories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's what I get to do again this year, which has been so fun.
And this is the first year.
Second year.
Second year.
Yep. Last
Wow.
year was our inaugural Mexico house. It went so well. It was actually just next door
Uh-huh.
in Peche. It's a restaurant here in Austin, a great restaurant. And we maxed out that venue. Like we were busted.
Because it's tight in there.
It is tight in there. It's like a
What-
shotgun kind of
Yeah.
alleyway style
Okay.
restaurant. So
But last year there was not panelists. There was?
there was panelists last year.
Wow.
We had panelists. We had musicians. We had startup pitches.
Wow.
We fit it all in somehow. We had sponsor booths. Like
Uh-huh.
it was tight, but it was so fun. We had so many great outcomes from the event itself. We
Mhm.
got such great feedback. And we said we should do something bigger this year, 2026.
And now there's a fashion show.
And now there's a fashion show, which is something we were dreaming about when we did this the first year. We we're like, how can we kind of spotlight all of the different aspects of the state of New Mexico?
Uh-huh.
And now here we are doing it. And that's all thanks to Nicole Johnny, one of our other board members, and
Mhm.
her organization and team and community that's helping put that together. We have like a more dedicated musical showcase this year. And so some of our other board members have been coordinating that. Yeah, I spend a lot of my time on the kind of daytime programming. So the coordination of all the panels that are occurring today, and then our startup showcase, which is going to be a really good time.
Okay. Awesome. Well, how do you think New Mexico and let's say Austin can work together more to build more impact for local and small entrepreneurs who are wanting to branch out?
So I can speak to it from the perspective of my role at Sandia National Labs. I think that's a good segue.
Uh-huh.
So I work in our technology and economic development department at Sandia Labs. So we're really focused on connecting businesses to the labs for technical assistance.
Okay.
But we also have a handful of programs that help to advance the commercialization of lab developed technology. So we're trying to get that technology from kind of behind the fence, behind the walls of the labs, out to industry,
Interesting.
into the private company. And so there's a really great organization here in Austin called Capital Factory. They're kind of a dual use. They have accelerator programs. They have a venture capital arm. They are a big presence here in Austin.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of very obvious overlap in terms of our industries that we're supporting, both at the national labs, but also at Capital Factory. And so we're eager to work together through that partnership
Uh-huh.
to increase access to capital, resources, government connections that Capital Factory's built. So we're kind of going to be bridging those ecosystems through our common like programs and interests.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. What does that look like outside the walls of Sandia Labs? It hasn't started yet?
No, so we've had conversations with Capital Factory, and we've been kind of building a rapport there over the years. But I think we're becoming much more like boots on the ground, nose to the grindstone, if you will, to work together in a more official capacity. So TBD.
Okay.
You know, we met with them yesterday. We got to tour the facility that they had at the Omni Hotel here in downtown Austin. And we're eager to build that partnership out further because I think it'll be mutually beneficial.
Okay. Awesome. And in your responsibility, you are connecting the two. They have a headquarters here, you said, a facility?
Yeah, so Capital Factory is based here in Austin.
Uh-huh.
They're developing like a stations, is what they're calling them, across the U.S.
Uh-huh.
So they have one here in Austin. They have one in Northwest Arkansas, D.C. So we're just exploring what that could look like in
Mhm.
Mexico.
Okay. To kind of help, the next generation of entrepreneurs, what can they do differently to be a part of or, use their skills to be a part of something that you're building with this?
Yeah, I think more broadly, I think entrepreneurs should be leveraging all of the resources that are available to them in New Mexico to be the most successful. My experience at the incubator was the companies that were taking advantage of what already exists and like all the things, right? So everything from state-funded programs to nonprofit incubator programs and advisory councils and mentoring and coaching. Like there's all of those incredible resources. And my experience is the most successful entrepreneurs take advantage of all of it. And are at least like in tune enough to know what is have appropriate for them to access. So I would just encourage any entrepreneur as they're going through their journey, because I dabbled in entrepreneurship myself there for a minute, that they should be leveraging what is existing in today's kind of resource network and ecosystem.
Okay.
And the state is pouring so much money into supporting entrepreneurs in different sectors. And just be aware, show up to things, network, people,
Start saying
connections is
hello.
everything. And just like, don't be scared to ask for help or advice. I think one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs experience in New Mexico, and I think it's one of our kind of core competencies, is we are eager to help people be successful. So you just have to show up.
Okay. What does success look for you in the next decade?
Oh, the next decade.
What is today's date? No, I'm just kidding. 2026, 36, no, 2036.
I
Crazy.
don't know what the future holds. I'm not sure if any of us do, but I do know that I will always want to work in entrepreneurship in some way, shape, or form. Either supporting them as one myself. I am a creative person. I like to brainstorm ideas. I like to try things. So I can see myself like maybe having a company at some point. And I mentioned that I dabbled in that at
Right. Get into that real fast.
So-
What do you mean you dabbled into it? What was that business?
Yeah, so the business was called Vault Pickleball.
Okay.
We're going to open up Albuquerque's first indoor pickleball.
What
entertainment
happened?
venue.
I'm sure people would love that now.
I know. It was a perfect storm of all the things, right? So the industry was growing. There was increasing demand.
Mhm.
I had a co-founder, and we were looking to build this. So we started a meetup group. We started kind of deeming ourselves like the young pickleball players of Albuquerque. And we tried to like just build this brand around like you can meet really cool people through pickleball. You can meet your next founder. You can meet your next husband, whatever it was. You can meet
Partner.
people.
Yeah.
And that was like what we were basing it off of. So it was highly social. We were trying to become
Okay.
like a third place for people to connect post-pandemic. And that was the whole intentionality behind it. What we weren't anticipating was while New Mexico is a great place to build and grow a company, the real estate can be a little pricey.
Where was this building going to be?
So we had a couple of options that we were weighing. I won't go into the details of that.
Okay.
But yeah, we had a couple of options, and unfortunately they weren't working out. And one thing I have learned, life in general, is if you're being met with too much friction, you should pay attention to that.
They
It
like
wasn't that the market,
check the red flags.
it wasn't that the market didn't want it. It just like things weren't lining up the way that I often hear they do when they're the right fit for you. So I'm still involved in the community. I still work with a number of partners that we built over the years of trying to develop that company. But it just wasn't the right time, I think.
Okay.
And now national companies have moved in and kind of filled that gap and demand for an indoor pickleball space. It was never going to be as cool as what we were doing, but hey, that's okay. We're in full support of just having more options for people to connect, and I'm cheering them on. I really am. Yeah.
Well, the day and the year is not over.
It's true. It's true. We will see.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think the next decade I'm hoping to be a mom one day.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there's a lot in my future that I'm really excited about.
Well, who or what business would you give a shout out to from New Mexico that more people should know about?
It's a good question. I want to say like all of them, which isn't great. I would put in a plug for all the companies that are taking a chance on creating companies around Sandia technology.
Okay.
And national lab technology in general. So all of our lab embedded entrepreneurship program companies that are, starting and forming, I think they should, and I'm rooting them on. So there's different cohorts of companies graduating out of that program on a regular basis. Um, yeah, I think I'm a
Awesome.
cheerleader across the board. So that's really, it's too hard of a question for me.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for coming on.
Thank you for your time.
And cheers to New Mexico House. That's South by Southwest, second year in a row.
Second year in a row. See you guys next year.
There's going to be a next year.
Let's hope so.
Mhm.
I think we're all just trying to get through this one. And we're just excited about all the outcomes that are going to result from today. So
Awesome.
thanks for goodness day.